All right, Nikki, listen, I went back on your LinkedIn profile because I'm like, right now, Nikki is amazing. Like, has anybody looked at Nikki's LinkedIn profile and seen what she does? She coaches women left and right. She's in a VP of sales, a CRO at an organization. I mean, Nikki is a bad boss. And, you know, she woke up like this, you know, it's like it just happened overnight. And I was like, no, it didn't. No, it didn't. So then I had to scroll to the place where people don't like to scroll. It's like on Lion King, it's like the dark area on the LinkedIn profile. And I was like, hey, Nikki started. Nikki, where did you get your start at? What was your first sales job?
My very first sales job was at Budget Car Sales in Hinesville, Georgia. Hinesville, if you're from there, it's where I went to high school. And I went into a car lot with a friend of mine who was looking to buy a car. The salesman was giving us all the beep bop boop boop sales robot. I saw it on like a used car salesman, right? The stuff you don't like. He was giving that, and I kept trying to like grab by the shoulders and break him out of it, right? I was trying to like give little clues, let's be people together, you're losing her. So anyway, needless to say, she did not leave with a car, but on the way out, that guy's boss caught up to me and was like, hey, have you ever considered a job in sales? Because he liked, I guess, my approach, my human approach, and how I wasn't shy about heckling his salesman.
I love that, man. Love that. I walked in with a friend to buy a car, and I end up buying a job. Like, they bought you, huh? That's love that. Love that. And so, like, you said you grew up in Georgia. So, like, tell us about yourself, right? So you grew up in Georgia, born and raised there. Like, did you tell us about yourself? Did you want to go into sales? Was sales like, all right, when I grow up, I want to be a car salesperson in a budget enterprise?
That's exactly it, Shelton. No, I did not actually grow up I was not born and raised in Georgia.
Okay.
My dad was in the Army. I was born in Dayton, Ohio. And you're like, that's where it comes from. Anyway, I was, about Dayton. Anyways, I was born in Dayton, Ohio. My dad got in the Army, like I said, which meant that kindergarten, we moved to Washington State. So I actually spent most of the time growing up, like up to just before high school in Washington State, so it was a huge culture shock then to go to high school in Georgia after that experience. That it is relevant to what we'll get to here in a minute as far as my working experience. But you had asked me about, my career then or my career now. I'm sorry, I kind of got off track.
No, come on. I want to get off track. I love being off track. So like, I want to just know about like how'd you navigate in, right? So you're jumping around Ohio, okay. And now it's like, yeah.
Okay, so I think that if I were to trace it back to where this began, this Nikki that I bring to sales every day, I became a teen mom at the age of 17, and people started talking about me like I was dead. It was crazy. They'd be like, oh, such a shame. She had such promise. She was really gonna be someone, right? And I'm standing there like, I feel like I'm still someone, but okay. But anyway,
hey, I don't think people reading the obituary for you like she was like, gonna be.
Seriously, and imagine what the impact that has on the psyche. And, not for nothing, I saw that happen to a lot of young women, a lot of young Black women. We weren't having our first experience at motherhood being treated like something that could enrich us, could fulfill us. We were more being treated like, look at this mistake you made, now you're never gonna make it. So anyway, I believe that bears further examination. At any rate, so what it taught me was belief has to be the cornerstone of any success I plan to have, because it would have been really easy. And at times, I was tempted to start to internalize all of that people were saying, right? Should all my dreams die? Am I something? Am I someone? And that was the work of it. And what I see when I see that iterated in a sales career is anything from being hung up on a cold call, right? Like that was that person. And in order for me to recover and succeed, I have to believe that what's around the corner can be good for me. And I can't believe whatever the negativity is that would come from that kind of rejection. So really, my career, my professional career, and my life as an adult has been built around that one piece, right? Just maintaining my belief that good things can and will happen in my life if I just don't quit.
So I'm assuming like things have more than likely been thrown against like that belief. Things continue to bombard that belief. And so like every day, how did you do it? Talking to
me. Well, we keep it about you, right? Like sometimes I didn't do it, Shelton. You know what I mean? Sometimes I didn't have the energy left. And I think it's important to talk about that as just part of the experience, really over the course of any career or life, but specific to sales. I think there is this tendency within sales culture to pretend like we don't have bad days, right? And it's driven by this bravado that we put out there, right? I am a hustler, baby. I sell water to a well. You feel me? So we're supposed to be that. And that often runs counter to like, well, if you a hustler really like that and you really out here banging on the system, then why was you sad that nobody picked up the phone today? Why did you have actual human being feelings when you missed quota? And so these had just not been questions that people had really been asking ourselves as part of sales culture. And so, you know, when I had those days, a lot of that is experienced by salespeople in isolation.
Yeah.
So, you know, part of succeeding, in addition to what I was talking about before, that grit building came down to community, right? So that idea that all is lost because nobody picked up the phone today, or even frankly, because I lost a sales job, right? That idea that all is lost is much tougher to internalize when you've got other folks to link arms with. And yeah, so I've created iterations of that, you know, really very recently here in my career. And it's been the thing that's made, I would say, the biggest difference.
It's awesome. Community is so important, man. Building that community. And so, you know, you said you did that as of recently, but like now let's go back. So a lot of the folks that are on the call, one are women. I think that we got like 90% of women in the house. Shout out to the ladies. But now they're at that stage similar to you were probably when you were starting that outbound engine. I feel like that's like the first shift into tech sales, right? When you were like coming out of this, you know, other type of sales and other type of roles.
Mm-hmm.
Like that transition in, like, talk about the challenges you had, one, including did you have like any imposter syndrome? You did, but like how you overcame them, how you got in. Like, let's talk about that.
Well, this also happened on a car lot. So this is years after the budget thing. This was me in Austin, Texas in around 2014, 2015, which many who work in SaaS will know was a boom. We were on the cusp of something during that time. And you had all these big tech companies moving to Austin, right? Like Google and I think PayPal, all these folks were coming in. So there was a boom in sales jobs opening up, right? But of course, in order to take advantage of that, you had to know that a tech sales job was a thing and that the skills were transferable. And I didn't have rework, you know what I mean? I didn't have anybody coming in to tell me, hey, like this is a thing you can do, not as a process or just part of something I would encounter on the regular, but it just so happened that I was selling this guy a car. And when we got back from the test drive, real quick, my test drives were so fun, y'all. I promise I'll get back to the point. But so on a test drive, and it does translate to sales, we'll get to it in a minute. But on a test drive, we never talked about the car because I don't know a lot about cars. What we would do is I would have the person sit down and I would say, hey, so there's two kinds of people when they get into a new car, right? Or any car. There's the ones that got to get the AC on first and the ones that got to get the music on first. Which one are you, right? So that was just part of how I did test drives because the point was to get people to picture themselves in the vehicle and have fun at any rate. So me and this guy have a blast driving around his actual neighborhood in this car. It was a Kia Optima, tricked out, in case you wondered. But anyway, so we get back from the test drive and he's like, did you know that you're good at this? And I was like, I'm something, I'm like that. And then he was like, did you know that you could apply like everything you just did, that you could sell software? And the imposter syndrome piece that I immediately had to confront was I really thought in order to sell software, you had to be a technologist. Like I believed that in my heart because like I mentioned a minute ago, nobody told me that. And so I was like, I don't know how to code. I don't know how to do this and do that. And dude was like, nah, don't worry about it. We're having an interview, right? And at that time they would have these mass cattle call interviews where like everybody came in, you kind of like it's a happy hour and they kind of observe you, right? So anyway, so I did that, got the interview, got the job. And when I tell y'all, it was like it was a movie. So I go in there and there is, I wish I were joking. There's like these loudspeakers and they're literally playing Rick Ross Every Day I'm Hustling. And everybody's desks are stand-up desks, right? And they're just standing up pitching. This was a one-call close environment, and it is a It's addicting. I can't even lie to you, right? I was at that job for about a week and was like, I think that this should be the part of every young adult's development, that they should work at this kind of fast-paced SaaS startup for a couple months. But anyway, so my experience coming into the profession was a great one. But as far as what the transition was, it goes back to the experience I was talking about on the test drive. Yeah. I had to figure out, well, what would they call that in SaaS sales, right? What's the language? And I found that the test drive is the demo. And then I started to think about, well, what else in my day could mirror this? So the way my day was set up, as opposed to a lot of the other car sellers, they would stand, you've seen it, right? They stand out in front of the dealership, somebody's pulling up before the person is even, before you even get your keys out of the ignition, somebody's opening the door for you to let you out and all of that. I was like, man, y'all can have that. So I took the information. Again, this is what was applicable. So they gave us this information that every 3.5 years or so, that is on average when people trade in a vehicle. So I was like, let me get the list of people who bought a car from us 3.5 years ago. What is y'all doing? So they gave me that list, and I would call that list and get people to come into the dealership. Did you know? And it was really simple. It wasn't easy. And I can't tell you what the success rate was comparatively as a percentage, but it didn't matter. I only needed 20 people to come in there and buy a car from me in a given month. So I realized that what I was doing was prospecting. So I understand what a demo looks like, and now I can talk about it as a skill that I learned. Now I understood, what these phone calls that they were prospecting and how to talk about them in an interview, right, for a SaaS sales job. So I would say, as far as the transition and making it as smooth as possible, it was learning to literally translate what I was doing day to day at that previous job into the terms that people use in tech sales jobs today.
Oh, that's fire. Like, right, built your own transferable skills and use connect. So then you basically came with this level of confidence that, like, I've been doing this already. Like, I've been doing demos already. That's awesome.
And not for nothing, I think that's why that first job was a full cycle AE role and not an SDR role. I love an SDR role, and I did end up going back and doing some sales development roles because, again, I think it's something that should be part of everyone's personal development. It grows you. So there was that. But yes, that is another important thing to think about, Shelton, is you will be treated as entry level as you are able to prove, right? Or at the seniority level that you're able to prove experience or knowledge. Yeah. So if I'd gone in and I didn't know how to talk about those things, right? Especially a demo, because, AEs have demos and not SDRs, generally speaking. So if I hadn't been able to talk about that, I would have been looking at a lower wage, probably. I would have probably been looking at a longer climb, right, to get to where I was trying to go. So yeah, it's really important.
Man. So let's talk about this climb, right? Because this climb is impressive, girl. You've been climbing. Let's talk about this climb, especially as you think you've been climbing in this Black woman dominated industry called the tech industry. So I know it's been relatively easy for you to climb it, It's like, as a Black woman in the tech industry, surrounded by a plethora of other Black women. So let's talk about the climb.
Yeah. So they would look at my application and be like, Shaniqua, let's get her in here right away. Nikki is short for Shaniqua. Everybody in my family calls me Nikki, but I am so proud of the name Shaniqua. Born in 81, and in the 80s, when Black folk in America were like looking for our heritage, we were like, this can't be it. And so we were looking for our heritage. And a lot of the time that meant looking for names that felt like our own. Yeah. Some people just made them up. You feel me? And so Shaniqua then is a distinctly Black American name that I am, again, really proud of. But my family calls me Nikki, so that's what I had gone by for a very long time. Anyway, but on applications, I did notice, that when I changed from, can we talk about it? That when I changed it from Shaniqua to Nikki, stuff started to move a little bit more quickly. But anyway, that's not what you asked. You were asking about
the climb. Yeah, it is kind of what I asked, right? Because that's the part of the climb, right? Where you're all right, you said I gotta move. Yeah, for the climb.
With all of this. So I was lucky in that first role. I had a thoughtful leader. It was the most diverse sales floor I've ever worked on, that very first job. And then, but as you are pointing to, Shelton, as I did start to advance in my career and, get more influence and seniority, there were less and less folk who looked like me that I was seeing. And then it got to a point where there was no one. And I was like, I guess it's me. And so, you know, I'm sure you had that moment as well. So I'm like, you know,
So
this is the problem I've identified. I guess it's me. And so what happened is, I was for about a decade experiencing what a lot of people experience, right? A lack of diversity, a lack of belonging, preponderance of microaggressions and whataboutisms. But I didn't stop, which is the legacy of Black people and Black women in particular in America. It's also the human spirit. Anyway, so when I got to a point where I felt like I had accomplished enough and built a skill set that if I say this one thing that makes everybody who might hire me mad, I can still take care of myself, right? So when I got to that point,
love it.
I was like, I'm finna talk about it. We knew each other during this time when I came up against that point.
Yeah, I remember. I was there with it. I was like, come on, girl. Like, look, be ready to get fired.
Hell no, was it? No, but anyway, so once I built all of that, it happened to culminate in 2019, right? Just before the world blew up in these issues of culture and the national discourse around inclusion and belonging, and the national discourse around, more specifically, economic exclusion. I really started to think about, well, what can I do about that? And it actually started with me changing and adding Shaniqua to my LinkedIn. Which seems small for a lot of people, but it was a big deal for me.
Yeah.
I had this experience early in my career, like probably my second or third SaaS sales job, and they were handing out like paper bonus checks, right? And they were kind of sitting on a desk, these little envelopes with everyone's name on them, and somebody saw my name, and he was taking it around the office asking, who on earth is Shaniqua? And then they all had a fun little time joking about how ghetto that name is. And then they started.
What's their name, girl? I got you. We about to go to Twitter. We about to go to X, right? I'm about to right now. I go ahead, finish. I'm sorry. You got me.
So, and this is still in Austin. But anyway, so they were doing all of that, and they were bringing up like characters on. There's some character named Bon Qui, and they were like, "Oh yeah, it's like that or whatever." And then I was like, "Hello, hi, I'm Shaniqua," and I told them, that my name is short for Nikki and all this good stuff. And then there was but you don't look like a Shaniqua, and then flipping the table. No, I did not flip the table, but I really felt like it. So anyway, that just as a little bit of background as to why I see people saying this hit home, by the way, and I'm sorry it did, but I know it did. And we do this in solidarity. But anyway, so that happened. But that was like 2016, 2017. So anyway, when this national discourse started to explode in 2019, that is when I decided that whatever I did would have to be at the corner of career and culture. That I no longer could stand that tension between knowing that there is this problem out in the world that I feel, uniquely suited to address. I think that my experiences in particular in my life give me a perspective that can be helpful and that can inspire people. And I can't sit that on a shelf to sell to hawk wares, right? To sell somebody's software. I need to find an outlet. So that is when I just started saying it. I just started talking about what was going on, right? Like, I'm not going to pretend like what's happening in the world doesn't impact the workplace, and more specifically, sales culture. So 2019, I decided I'm going to become a sales culture subject matter expert.
Expert.
Because there still really aren't very many people talking about sales culture. And if we don't talk about sales culture, then we don't get to challenging this idea that it is a pure meritocracy. And if we don't challenge the idea that it's a pure meritocracy, then we still leave entire demographics vulnerable to economic exclusion and to the types of experiences that I had. Because it is just intellectually dishonest to suggest that a person dealing with that one experience that I just described to you around my name and a person not experiencing that are coming into the situation with an even playing field, right? So anyway, I decided I needed to study sales culture to blow this up, topple whatever, knock all of this stuff over.
Blow it up.
And blow it up. Blow this eye up. Anyway, so that is what I've been doing. I've been attempting to sell in a way and to an audience that is disruptive to this culture that often leads to the economic exclusion of entire demographics, right? And so when I started to work at these places, right, there's a place called M-Train that has a software that helps people actually measure what people are experiencing with respect to inclusion, belonging, and microaggressions, right, at work. There's another where we were facilitating conversations to bring folks together around issues like inclusion, belonging, ageism, and all of these things. And in these experiences, I learned things like that the impact could be beyond just Black women. And I started to think about other intersections, right, of identity, of background, something like almost half of the folks in the workforce who identify along the LGBTQIA plus spectrum are in the closet at work. So this is what I'm saying, right? There are these problems out there that I just can't ignore. So that's why I started to sell these types of things. And I think that early in your career, or really at any point when you're in a job search, especially a sales job search, don't ignore that. Don't put yourself in a position where you start to come against that tension between, the fight you feel called to fight and the selling you have to do to take care of yourself. Give yourself permission when you're looking for a job to sell something that you believe in to a group of people whose success and advancement is important to you.
Man, I got 5 minutes left. I got to figure out so I got a question, and I'm gonna open up to the community just because they can ask you questions. My question, so you've been in the game, man. You earned the stripes. We're proud of you. And I'm assuming that it wasn't easy. And the reason I ask this is because, it's a lot of new people that are coming to this space that make it seem easy, right? Make it seem like, oh, you got to do a spray and pray your job application out there, and you use ChatGPT, and this is going to be instant success, and you're going to make $300,000 in your first year as a PDR, and you're going to be Nikki overnight. So what words of wisdom do you have to, again, the folks that's listening to this, about just expectation setting and the instant oatmeal?
Yeah. There's a couple of things that I don't want to throw too much at you all. So first of all, no, it is not as easy as a lot of people make it out to be to sustain a sales career. But a lot of that has to do with the cultural issues that I just talked about, and, ways that we ignore mental health and well-being in that role. But beyond all of that, whatever the process is that you are taught or that resonates with you as a seller, I'm actually not of the opinion that part matters so much, right? What matters is how consistently you apply that process. The truth is that the numbers tell us that most salespeople do not consistently follow a process. And yet you'll see a lot of talk around processes and tactics that don't work, right? Someone's asserting this channel is dead, this, type of messaging is dead. But again, none of that really matters. As long as what you're doing, you are doing consistently, and as long as you are tracking the results. Now, do I also believe that there is an element of volume that you just have to accept going into a sales job? Heck yes, I truly do. I've always been a phone first seller. So when I'm trying to really be helpful to people early in their sales career, I try and tell them look, just go on and make the calls, fam. And, just make it part of your day, embrace it. The shift for me was thinking about them less as dials or calls and more as attempts at a conversation. Yeah. So those mindset shifts really, and I know I didn't get into here's the, subject line that's going to 10x your reply rate. But again, I don't think it's about that. I think there is this mindset that same belief that I talked about a moment ago, that as long as that is what is at the core and what's driving the activity or output in a sales job, you will win. You will win eventually. Can I just say one more thing? I know we're
go. I know. And I got to steal 5 minutes from you. I'm just sorry because
So content is important. It is becoming a part of the standard table stakes skill set for salespeople. It's why anyone even knows my name at all, right? So 2 things. Don't feel like your content has to, if you're not an extrovert, right? Like your content have to focus all on you in front of the camera, doing an impression of your favorite sales influencer or guru. Feel completely free to approach this as a build in public type thing, right? So the build in public is either you're talking about the skills that you are learning, as a salesperson on LinkedIn, this kind of content plays very well. Or I would say probably if you're in a vertical that you think you're going to stay in or industry that you think you're going to stay selling to, then the content should be what you're learning about the industry, right? What you're learning about the problems that people in that industry are up against. But before you get to any of that, just do the job well. Just put up good numbers, have that. And I'm saying that because it is difficult. Everybody's a sales influencer now. You know what I'm saying? So it's difficult to keep your focus on that. But the North Star has to be thinking of everything you do as the proof case for the next thing that you're going to do. So document every single, don't just document your wins, document your activity, how consistently you did that, right? What anybody as a customer or a testimonial said, even if you're an SDR and they just said it to you on the phone, all of it. Just, the mindset thing to set yourself up for success.
Do the job well. Build in public, that's fire, right? Build in public, I love that. All right, so I'm gonna open it up. I'm gonna take people, if you can come off mute if you got a question. Nikki, I'm stealing some time from Nikki because it's, I'm over time at this point.
We good.
Oh man, appreciate you. Anybody got a question that they want to ask Nikki, here's the opportunity to get her. This is me stealing the informational interview up. Let me go. You should be able to either raise your hand or come off mute and treat y'all like callers. Oh, I got my first caller, Vee Walters. What you got?
Hey, I'm not gonna take up a lot of time. Thank you for your time, Nikki. We appreciate you. I just have a quick question. So I'm interviewing for a company and I see the opportunity for growth. So they're expanding their company to the United States. So I'll be like their first team in the United States. So I see the potential for the growth and, promotion really quickly. So what is I would ask, what one characteristic you would say you would need in a leadership role, like coming from, starting out in sales and just moving forward to that leadership role? Like, you're going to go to that next step and you're going to have to help people coming in. Like, what's the one characteristic that you would say I need to possess to proceed in that lane?
Okay. So for clarification, you are in an interview process for a role at this company?
Yes.
Okay. And that role is a leadership role?
So I'll be coming in as an SDR.
Okay.
I will be starting out as
we don't do no downturn like it's bad as an
No,
SDR.
No, I don't think it's bad. No.
Okay,
Yes.
Go ahead.
And I did get your tip that you said, the SDR position grows you. So I did get that from you. I heard you say that. So I'm not down putting that. I just see that. I know that it's potential to help the company grow. So
got it. Okay. So you're thinking ahead for moving into leadership?
yes.
Okay, careful with that. I love a big goal. I really do. But I mean it when I say do the job well first.
Mm-hmm.
So especially in the SDR role, a lot of the time, there is this pressure to be on that track, right? SDR, then AE, then SDR manager or director of sales, then VP, then, on up. So just check in with yourself and make sure that that's what you still want, right? Along the way, because I'm also a big proponent of the other parts of a business where an SDR skill set is applicable and even needed. Things like customer success. So customer success tends to be passive as far as keeping in touch and renewals and stuff. An SDR skill set would be proactive and probably help retention. At any rate, think about, or marketing or any of those things, think about what about the entire space is resonating with you. If you've done that and then you decide, yes, I still want to go into leadership, I would say the number one thing to master is internal selling.
Internal selling, yes. Okay.
Yes, that is learning how to make the case for your ideas with both data, of course, reasoning, and a little bit of moxie. Do you know what I mean? So
moxie.
Yes, gumption, guts.
Yes.
So little things, right? Like you're on this team as an SDR and, you're hearing about a new software that, is out there that you think might help the team figure out the numbers that lead you to believe that or that substantiate that before you decide to have a conversation or send an email to whoever your leader is. Whether they end up adopting the tool or not, you are demonstrating, right, a bias for data and an ability to break that into something that matters. You will have to do this again when you're looking for that promotion, which is why I was talking about documenting things. So you'll need to go back and be like, or along the way, document, right? Like, I helped this person, with call reviews, right? Or I, successfully sat in on a call where the internal persona that for the people that we sell to was on the buying end, right? So just find these little ways to demonstrate ownership of your pipeline and your journey with that company.
Yeah. And I'm glad you said that too, because honestly, me personally, I do not want to go into the AE space, really. I do want to do the SDR, BDR job well and, just grow in that space. And then my desire is really customer success or even learning and development. Like that is my desire. I do not want to do the AE role. So I don't know. It's like, I know it's different from a lot of people coming in, but I do have the desire to move into learning and development or customer success space because I am that. That is me, my personality. Yeah.
I'm rooting for you. You shall not be knowing.
Awesome. Hey, listen, y'all heard? She said y'all gotta find y'all some y'all have some guns.
And by the way, please, and everybody here, make sure you add me on LinkedIn. Sometimes I don't get back to you super quick, but I am serious about answering questions, particularly from folks from this community. Y'all show me love. Anytime folks, enter the group, they always reach out and connect. So make sure that you've connected. I love to help you any way I can.
Cool. All right. She said she had a couple more. Any other questions? Any questions, comments, concerns? Questions, comments, concerns. There we go. Tiffany, what you got for us, Tiffany?
Hi, Nikki. I had a question about that mental health aspect of the job. I know you had kind of said a little bit about it, but how do we develop that mental fortitude with that bravado and also with the failure that can happen as well, especially Black women who always have to prove something extra and keep on top of things. That's a thing.
Yeah, so I'm reading this book. It's called All the Black Girls Are Activists. And I was beefing with this book at first, I'm gonna be honest with you, because the premise is basically, you could consider it an act of revolution as a Black woman to pursue a soft life, to prioritize your well-being, because the standard for the way that we tend to behave at aggregate, right, is not that. Is to take on generations-long battles like I've been just describing to you. So I would think about that first. I would think about, are there areas of your life where you are taking up this mantle? Because there are many, right, things out there to fight against or try to advance, but are there areas where you can find that you can take that off your plate and give it back to yourself? The other thing that helped me in particular has been, or is helping me, has been not treating mental health care, that is therapy, like something that they only need if you're having an event. It is about maintaining, and it is about constantly checking in with the stories that you tell yourself about yourself, because like you alluded to, there are many stories that exist outside of Black womanhood that don't get us at all, and that if any of us listened to or internalized, we would not be winning the way that we are today. Thank you for asking that question. I really appreciate it.
I need to do a clap every time you say something impactful. I feel like I'd be clapping the whole time to find what I'm gonna post on my content. Love it, love it, love it. Cool. Let's take 2 more questions if y'all got it. 2 more questions. No pressure. Brunel, is this Brunel clapping, man? I know, right? Clapping the whole time.
I have another question.
Go ahead, Vee, get enough.
I mean, I guess it's kind of 2 questions in one. So can you give us the most rewarding part job and then the most challenging part, you would say?
Ooh. So I'll talk about just sales jobs in general, because my job now that I'm doing, I am coaching. So I'm not actively selling every day, really just for the past 2 months. I'll say one sentence about what's feeling about that. I'm coaching women business owners. We got a couple dudes in there too, but I'm coaching entrepreneurs, most of whom have left corporate America to become independent. And these women come to me, most of it is Black women, and they come to me and they have these ideas that are almost always mission driven and that they have developed, but that no one has taught them the language and the processes to get in front of the clients that they want. So the rewarding part is watching women's businesses advance, because only 12% of Black women-led businesses ever bring in 6 figures in profit. So I'm trying to impact that. In general, though, the most rewarding part of my sales career has been conversations that I have with people who are passionate about what they do. And I think that that's what's made it easier for me to stay in the profession. You know, I mean, obviously, if it were just the cold calls and all the fighting and the battling and trying to, you know, engineer for people to respond to you and meet with you, or you can, you know, close deals, yeah, that'd be a drag. But it's more than that. When you do talk to someone and those stars align and you've found them at the moment when, right, they're experiencing a problem that has become untenable, and then you come in not just with some solution, but with passion for helping them. Those are the best days, the best days. I think the most challenging part, some people would probably say the no's and the rejection, but you know, for me, it really is, as a remote seller, it's not having that sales floor energy that I was lucky to experience. It sinks in how lucky I was as the years pass and as more sales jobs become remote, because my goodness, a one call close, like that is a shot of adrenaline, if anything ever was one. So missing out on, you know, what it feels like to get a one call close with all of your sales folk friends standing around waiting to see you close the deal and then this big celebration, that's been sad for me, because I am an extrovert. I am energized by being around people. So something to think about when you enter the profession.
Thank you.
Man, I do miss the gong. We had a gong in the office, man, and it just got lit. You know, the Rick Ross, yeah, I feel like it was on every sales team's playlist, like every day. I was like, oh.
Yeah. Did y'all have where, I forget what it was called, but it connected to Salesforce, and when you close a deal or sometimes book a meeting, you can have a picture and a song clip uploaded for whoever that salesperson was.
No,
Bro,
what's that app? Oh,
it was so fun. It was so as soon as you click it in Salesforce that the deal is closed, then on this big TV screen, your song is playing, and mine of I'm a hustler, baby. I'm a huge Jay-Z fan.
Oh man.
Imagine that playing every single time. Yeah. Anyway, my little picture of me with my little Yankee hat on. It was everything.
Hey, I need that. I gotta find this app you talking about. I need that in my life. I need like a TV behind me for the win. It's like oh, good. Well, Nikki, we appreciate you. You know, you're a busy woman. So to make the time to do this, truly appreciate everything. I feel like I don't have enough time to just dive into the full journey. I could have spent all day talking to you about the stuff that you've learned, but like, thank you again from all the folks at Rework. We appreciate you, and put your LinkedIn profile in the chat. And so cool for people to connect with you.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Just thank you, man. Keep doing it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I love to highlight of my day. So Y'all have a good one. Good luck, everybody.
All right. See you.